Hello from the land of TV. This is King Cool. And you can probably guess what we're going to talk about today. There was that tragic school shooting in Connecticut. Heartbreaking, utterly senseless. People are grasping for answers. Now, for this Doom Rant, I'm not going to talk about the First Amendment issues where people say, hey, it's our violent media. Or I'm not going to talk about the Second Amendment issues where it's like, oh, it's our gun culture. You know, unless you're just listening to the audio with this, not listening to the video, you can probably take a wild guess about what I feel about both of those. So, we'll skip that for now. And there are plenty of other defenders who will take that to that with me. I want to address a real specific thing that I saw on Facebook, which was a little girl prays. It's this little note that says, a little girl prays to God. And she says, God, why do you let these things happen in our schools? And then God replies, I'm not allowed in schools anymore. Crud, I didn't mean to fall in. So yeah, you might be able to picture how I might object to that little turd. First off, I don't get why it is always the pious people always seem to have the most limited view of God. As far as, like, what is this? Is like a school now goo? Do you guys ever play freeze tag and you could touch goo, and goo would mean that you couldn't get frozen, but anyone touching someone who's touching goo could also do it? You guys remember that? So yeah, just because, what they mean, they don't mean that God's not allowed in schools because he's got a criminal record or something. What they mean is that prayer is not allowed in schools. God, in theory, can go wherever the hell he likes. You know, I don't doubt that every other day he's in there in Fort Knox, just like, yup, I'm in here, ho ho, just to stick it to us. But what they mean is that prayer is not allowed in schools. Nom nom. So, is the answer to this thing more prayer, then? To that which I say, no, because who do you pray to? You know, we do not have, but despite what some people say, we don't have a state religion. The Founding Fathers were deists, who, they did believe in a creator, but they did not necessarily believe in a Christian one. They certainly did not believe in the direct intervening God that is pervasive in other monotheisms. I walked right into that, it always seems to be one who gets away. In fact, neighboring state of Connecticut, which I am from, Rhode Island, was founded by a guy named Roger Williams, who founded, Rhode Island was the first state of any kind, like state, nation, whatever, to be founded on the principle of religious freedom. And I think that is, because the thing was, he knew, even hundreds of years ago, that you could not administrate what was in a man's heart. You could not tell someone to believe something as a like a qualifier for citizenship. You know, in general, if you're an atheist, there's no tests for ideological purity, or at least there weren't before something else. Maybe I'll get back to that someday. That was actually the subject of the Doom Rant that actually I first recorded on these levels, but then I discarded because I wasn't really on point for the end of the video. So, okay, let's take the basic premise. Okay, the reason something like this happens, then, which must be what is being proposed, is that because God's not allowed in school, because prayer is not allowed in school. Let's make that important distinction. Oh, come on. I've completely forgotten where I was in this Doom Rant. Well, anyway, we're talking about Rhode Island. One other thing that happened, okay, you want to know the difference between Rhode Island and Texas and not just size? In Texas, they have Rick Perry, the governor, who I think brought together a day of prayer to try to fix like an economic crisis or something. It's like, it's one thing to try to pray against like a real oblique concept like war or famine or something. You know, I can understand that. But economic issues are supposed to be well within the control of humans. And for him to pray for something just sort of betrays the fact that he doesn't know what he's doing. And that he pilots the state of Texas the way a child pilots a bulldozer. Whereas in this state, we have the wonderful Jessica Alquist, who stood up to the school, which had a prayer sitting up in its like, not lobby, but like in the hall for several years until she was like, hey, look, you gotta be kidding me. I'm popular today, and this is the best take so far. Where was I? Jessica Alquist objected to the a prayer in a I'm gonna do it this way. I don't even know if I'm hitting him. Okay, now I know I'm hitting him. I'm in trouble. This is bad. Ugh. So yeah, she got that prayer taken down, because she is an atheist, even as a young woman. Because we determined some time ago, it's like, yeah, a prayer has no place in school. School is like the one place where science can reign. On television, in churches, and all this other stuff. That's one place where science and reason and these other things can reign. And prayer has no place in a public school. Because we do not have a state religion. Even these moments of silences, these bullcrap things that they try to put, it's like, no, nah. It's just this. It's just sheep in a wolf in sheep's clothing, really. But if you sincerely think the problem with this is, prayer, and let me make this clear, the other problems, like problems with the First Amendment, Second Amendment, those are all. Hang on, chugging. Those are all problems that at least are real. Okay, those are real things. Now, I mean. Yeah, does the First Amendment cause some problems? It's like, sure. Oh, golly. This is bad. These are the guys who were out there in the last one. They get released when I go through that little thing over there. Oh, I'm doing great today. And this is the oh, come on! At least I've still got the thingy. But now I can't use it later, which is the real annoying thing. Oh, they got released too. I guess either of them will trigger either one of them. What a wild level this is. Anyway, so if you really think the problem is that there is not enough prayer, here's what I'd like you to do, and I do not wish anyone to ever have violence fall upon them, but if you ever face the terrible circumstances where there is a gunman facing you, either in a random shooting or you betrayed Big Fat Paulie or whatever, whatever brought you there. What I'd like you to try is what I would like to call God's bulletproof vest. And what you do is I'll put a little picture in the corner. You put your hands in front of you like that, and you can either catch a bullet between your fingers, like right in your cupped palms, or you can deflect the bullet to someone less pious, someone that God doesn't love quite as much as you. And what I don't have the means to test this properly, to see how effective it is at saving lives. Although I am forced to assume it's not going to be that effective. Maybe 0% of people will be saved by it. But that's pretty good. You know, I guess that's okay when you're talking about prayer, when you're talking about matters of God. So, why don't we add a little something to that story? I heard the cyber demon wake up. Let's add a little something to that story. A little girl prays to God. And she asks God, why do you let these things happen in our schools? And she waits. And 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 waits. But no answer ever comes. Do you know why? Because God isn't real. Thank you all for watching. Have a very merry non-existence and a happy new year. This is King Cool. Drive home safe. Yeah.